Today is our fifth business analysis presentation, and of course our topic is going to be guilt.
Yeah, I'm Joe.
JK is just prank. It's not going to be guilt. It's going to be appearance versus reality. This is in the novel Fifth Business. The use of archetypes by Davies shows how a society is unaware of the distinction between how these characters appear versus how they actually are in reality. But without further ado, let's get into the video. Let's not waste any more time. Alright, boys, let's get into the passage. So, my passage was very thick. It runs from page 78 to 79. So I'm just going to do a little quick summary, a little quick rundown on what's going on, give you guys some context before we get into the analysis part. So it starts off with Dunny. He's laying down in his hospital bed and he gets some news that his parents just passed. Once he gets that news, he starts talking about his parents and what they meant to him, especially his mom, because mom played such a significant role in his life. Then he goes on to talk about Diana. They're sharing some emotions together. She's being a bit romantic, he said, and he felt this connection between them that, you know, they're gonna grow up to have a relationship sometime in the future. Alright, so without further ado, let's get into the analysis, and of course we're gonna start with your boy Dunny. Dunstan, let's get her done. Alright, so this is how we're gonna break it down. So with every character, we're gonna talk about how society, these characters appear in society versus how they actually are in reality. And of course, we're gonna start with the hero archetype for Dunstan. But what exactly is the hero? You know, you see all these great heroes: Superman, Spider-Man, Logan Paul. What do all these great heroes have in common? Well, these great heroes embody the classic elements, of course, such as strength, bravery, determination. They overcome their personal flaws and limitations. You know, they enter the unknown to face their deepest challenges. And usually after all that, they return to the world or back where they started and they receive some type of gift, or they just do all of it. They face the great threat to save the people. Now, of course, Dunstan, he doesn't really fit that, you know, hero status. He wasn't brave or he wasn't determined doing any of this. You know, he was more clueless, if anything. And all that good stuff he did, like killing those Germans and saving all those people, it was just luck. It was all by chance. He didn't mean to get into that nest, and of course it was just luck that those Germans happened to be turned around so he can shoot them in the back. Yet, people see him as this hero. They parade him, they give him one of the highest medals of honor, and they think that he's this battle-hardened soldier, when really he's just, you know, a kid that just had chance by his side. What is Dunny really, as far as archetypes go? Well, really, he is the innocent or the youth archetype. Now, the innocent or youth archetype revolves around essentially happiness. They're naive dreamers. The innocent always tries to look in the good in the world, looks to be in the silver lining in every situation. And that's what Dunny is exactly. It's just the passive, you know, that passive person that doesn't want to get into any trouble. Of course, when he was going to war, he didn't have any idea what he was walking into, and that was one of, you know, his biggest mistakes in his life, was walking into that war. But how is he the innocent or youth archetype? Well, let's break it down. So firstly, the innocent are naive dreamers. This is shown when he talks about Diana, about how he wants to have literally a girl he just met, how he wants to have a future with her, and, you know, have a relationship and all that good stuff. Secondly, the innocent always tries to see the good in the world and looks for the silver lining in every situation. Dunstan shows us at the beginning of the passage. He says, "It was years before I thought of my parents' death as anything other than a relief. In my 30s, I was able to see them as real people who had done their best they could in their lives. Fate had given them." So basically what he's saying is, when he was younger, of course, he didn't really think much of his parents. He didn't really like his parents because obviously his mother beat him and kind of shamed him. But now that he's, you know, more grown up, he sees that silver lining in that situation, that, you know, his parents tried their best and maybe they, you know, they did the best they could with Dunny until obviously they passed. And finally, he's the innocent archetype because the innocent archetype revolves around happiness and kind of, you know, just staying away from all that bad stuff. And that's what Dunny tries to do. Well, he tries at least. Obviously, going into the war was one of his biggest mistakes. You know, it was obviously horrific for him, but he didn't realize what he was walking into. But when he does realize what he's walking into, he tries to avoid any negative situations, such as the deal with Percy when he was younger. He shows that at a very young age. When Percy tries to fight him, he just walks away. And he even talks about this in the passage. He says, "I was happy to be living at all. I only live for the sweetness of the moment." And that's exactly what the innocent does, just lives for the sweetness of the moment. So we're gonna move on to the next character, and that is of course gonna be Dunny's mom, Mrs. Ramsay. Now, how does society see Mrs. Ramsay? Well, they see her as the caretaker archetype. Now, I know this may seem weird at first, why is she the caretaker? She beats her son. But let me break it down for you, all right? So what is the caretaker archetype? So basically fulfilled by taking care of others. This person will offer their heart openly and willingly. They support other people. They give nothing but love is essentially what they are. It's the caretaker / mother archetype, I guess you could say. Now, why exactly is Dunny mom like this to society? Well, that's how the people see her. If you think about it, the story is told from Dunny's perspective. It's told from the person that gets beat and shamed by the mom. But if you were any other person in Deptford, you wouldn't know that she beats her kid. You wouldn't know that she shames her kid and she rules her household like a tyrant. You see her, making food for other people, taking care of other people, like Mrs. Dempster, for example. If this story was based on any other character within Deptford, within this town, they would just see Mrs. Ramsay as just this caregiver, this loving woman. That's what they will see her as. When in reality, she is the ruler archetype. Now, I decided to go for something a bit different, the ruler. I could have said something just straight up, like the negative mother archetype. But for one, I felt like that was too straightforward, and two, someone already did that, so I'm not about to do that. Okay, so the ruler archetype. So what exactly is the ruler archetype? Now, there's plenty of ruler archetypes. There's the king, the queen, the boss, the leader, the politician, the manager, the role model, and each of them have their kind of own traits and attributes to them. But what exactly is the one we're going to be talking about? So we're going to talk about specifically the leader of the family or the leader of the community for that ruler archetype. So what is the ruler archetype? So the ruler is generally the one responsible for the atmosphere around the world in which they inhabit. In this case, for Mrs. Ramsay, it's going to be the Ramsay household. And of course, there's two versions of the ruler. There's more of like that goody two-shoes type, after there's the villain. And of course, Mrs. Ramsay is the villain. They don't grant their requests from their followers, and they exert their power as a first course of action with or without counsel. So how exactly is Mrs. Ramsay the ruler archetype? So let me break it down for you. So first of all, they're responsible for the atmosphere in the world in which they inhabit. So as you know, Dunny's father doesn't really do much. It's basically like she beat the soul out of him. So he's just there. And now Mrs. Ramsay is the ruler of the house. She tells people what to do, and she's in charge of everything. Secondly, they exert their power as the first course of action with or without consent. And you see this when Dunny steals that egg and he gets beat the crap out of by his mom. Instead of he was young at this age too, without, not a little quick pep talk, no sit, time out in the corner. You're catching these hands is essentially what the mom is gonna do. So why exactly is all this important? It's not just because Miss Ramsay rules the household. It's because the ruler also cares about their image, not just their image, their environment's image, the people who surround them, that image, as well as what they care about. And that's what Miss Ramsay is doing. By taking care of all these people, it makes her look good. By beating Dunstan, the reason why Dunstan got beat is because he stole the egg. If people know that, oh, Miss Ramsay's son stole the egg, they're gonna be known as thieves, and after their image is going to be torn, and she doesn't want that, so she beats Dunstan, making sure that he doesn't do that again to ruin their image. And lastly, Dunstan even predicts this, that if his mom is still alive, that she would have paraded him as, the mom of the war hero, because it's going to look good not just on her, but just the family as a whole. He says how she would have paraded in mock modesty as the mother of a war hero. And he knew that, not just for her, but because of the family image. And that's the tea, is that society is unaware of the distinction between how characters appear and how characters are actually in reality. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.
Spotlight, moonlight, why you tripping, get your Mariah? Sure look good in the moonlight. Do a bad mind. Spotlight, moonlight.
What's up, boys? Today we're gonna be doing a fire presentation on our 5th business analysis. What are you doing? I'm trying to record for school.